Welcome to the Afro Anime Initiative podcast, here where we discuss diversity in animation for our black and brown characters. Tonight, I am your host, Karen Bradley, along with,
Nice.
and we will be having a calm, cool, and reserved conversation about the new season of Voltron, Legendary Defender. Nah, I'm just kidding. We're about to wild out, boy,
I
Voltron!
swear.
but,
Oh my god.
but before we start, Paulina, can you tell the people where
Okay,
they
you
can
can
find us?
find us on Facebook. Type in Afro Anime Initiative or Afro AI. On Twitter, Afro underscore AI. And our Instagram, Afro Anime Initiative. Just that whole thing. And you'll see our logo pop up and join the initiative. So, season 5 of Voltron is here. And I don't I'm so happy for it because it's so different from the past 4 seasons. Really, it's just for one thing, it moves the focus away from Keith. As much as I love him, and as much as growth and shine that this kid is getting, I need to see how everybody else is doing, and we got that.
First off, for our listeners of the calm and cool collective part of this podcast, I think we should inform them a little bit about Voltron. Voltron is the tale of five teenagers who pilot the five most powerful weapons in the galaxy as they fight against the Goa Empire. The Empire, over the last 10 years, 10,000 years, has expanded across the universe and are in control of mostly everything. It's basically a bunch of giant ass lions shooting stuff, and it's freaking awesome. But
It's very much like pretty much any other mega anime show that came out in like the 90s and 80s.
but they took like the concept of Voltron, the original Voltron. People don't know it was originally a cartoon. Just a nice '80s cartoon, good a show to sell toys. Well, they've taken it and they've crafted just a beautiful story. The story of this Voltron, I believe it's Voltron Legendary Defenders by Netflix. Go watch it now. They have Netflix. Is just is more than just a vehicle to sell toys. There's character development. There is consequence to actions. There is just a beautiful story.
And an excellent world building with just anywhere they went, not just Earth, but anywhere they went, you have all these beautiful places that they build alliances with or fight against, and it's a whole it's a whole thing. Like they actually took the time out to create the story that's comprehensible for anybody of any age. And that's what I love about it. Like I'll give you like a side note that a friend of mine, her niece, she's 3 years old, but she's like, oh, I want to watch Voltron. Let's go watch Voltron. I'm like, that's awesome. She's 3 years old. It's wonderful.
That's beautiful.
And it
That's
gets me
beautiful.
excited because I have yet to get my nephews into it. I don't know what exactly he's watching right now, but I gotta fix that. So
Hmm.
if he's not watching it, I know what to do. I know what I'm gonna do when I visit him next time. So
Hmm.
it's
There you
if
go.
you guys haven't seen it yet and have Netflix, just give it a watch. The first season is absolutely fun. Like it shows you throughout the series up until this point though. Yes, they're focused on an intergalactic war and trying to bring down an empire that has, wreaked havoc for 10,000 years according to, the storyline. And it's difficult, it's stressful, and it's extremely traumatizing especially when you have their leader Takashi Shirogane, which is a character they've decided to keep into the show in comparison to his older counterparts. Um, he went through so much crap, and he even has a prosthetic from it as a result from his capture and his imprisonment with the Galra Empire. So you have all these themes in a show geared towards not just kids, but anybody of any age, really. And it helps the viewer understand that this is not something to take very lightly. On the other side of that, there are plenty of moments to remind us that they're just kids. Just from the smallest interactions to just them messing around when like three just leave three teenagers by themselves and they will get into a lot of trouble, and it's the greatest thing ever.
And it's captured so well. The animation is great. The voice acting is top notch. Like I'm very happy and surprised a little bit that Netflix has put so much into it because it's working. And it's like to that American anime, which has become a thing now, but it's American anime that just works. It's not trying to copy anything else, really. Yeah, it's not trying to completely imitate something. It's giving you something new or taking the old thing, just giving it that little twist and that just that extra something different that makes you be like, oh, okay, there's just something here that encaptures you, and you just want to keep watching it.
And it's again with the voice acting. I'm gonna have to make a shout out to Miss Cree Summer. Listen, she's in everything, and I love it. And I just again have to applaud her for her great voice acting in it too. Like she's been around for a long time, and I really appreciate her being in the show. Like she
Mm-hmm.
fits the role of Hagar very well, very well.
Miss Cree Summers is gonna probably have to get her own dedicated show one.
She does.
But okay, let's there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to cover if you haven't ever watched. But we've of course have been following Voltron, so we're gonna kick it off with season five, which has just been released on Netflix about a week ago. So like I said, you can watch it, catch up. It's all on Netflix, all there. Binge watching is fun. Um, but we're gonna start off with season five. P, how does season five open up?
See, I don't even remember how season 5 opens
You suck.
up.
Season five opens up. They've just um, formed an uneasy
Yes.
alliance with Prince
Okay.
Lotor. Prince Lotor is the son of the evil empire of the evil emperor of the Gora Empire,
Yes.
and Darkon is the emperor. And what he is doing is trying to convince the Voltron team that he's on their side by giving the information. We open up the season with Voltron taking on one of the missions with the information that he's given them. And it's like I said, it's an uneasy line. Lotor, they've been kind of fighting on and off
Yes.
since season four, but they don't trust him. But what he's doing is giving them legit information and helping the alliance succeed. They're freeing more planets. They've dealt great blows to the Gora Empire, and Lotor is basically telling them like, "Hey, how do you not trust me? I haven't really been fighting you guys. Yes, I've manipulated you to doing stuff for me, but you guys just be around when I'm there and you just start shooting and I just shoot back." And it's such a beautiful thing because you can go back and watch those episodes and you can see like, wait, yeah,
No, he
did
didn't.
he really attack them first? Like, those are just beautiful ways of writing and throwbacks to make you actually want to go rewatch an entire series. And since Netflix is always there, since they own it, it's always there. It's easy accessible. You just go back and just like I'm gonna rewatch this and then pick back up, and it's just beautiful writing. So as the team and everybody's arguing, trying to figure out what to do with him, and he's telling the truth, we start to see a lot of their dynamics play out. How Lance is still attracted to Prince Aurora. The dichotomy now that Keith, who used to be the Red Lion, is no longer with the team, and how there's a little hole there, but they're filling it in with Shiro, who has now come back and taken over as team leader. And just we see the dynamic of the squad and what's been going on with them. Like I said, they're still kids, and they're fighting a war. And just certain things that they think are black and white, they just aren't black and white, and they have to figure it out real soon
And
if
I
they're
think
gonna
with the
win.
addition of Lotor, it the gray space has expanded, and I think a lot more colors have been added in, and that's what I really really appreciate about the show. Because when you first start off with Voltron, things may seem like, oh, good guys versus bad guys, but that's not the case. As it progresses, it becomes more and more gray. You look at up until now, up until the fifth season, you look at Pidge's storyline, her story arc, and you realize that there's a lot of things.
I
Yeah,
hope you
she's the
pay
Green
attention to
Paladin,
Green
yes.
Lion, right?
And
Okay.
There are things you realize that if you take that step back, there she is willing to go very far to get her family back. Very far. And that's one of the interesting things that I really appreciate them focusing on because, she's just been very dedicated to finding first her brother, then her dad. After they were
Yeah, because the first episode for the
uh-huh.
first season, yeah, season one, episode one is the goal was capturing her
Yes, yep.
dad, her brother, and Shiro, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So since then, up until, she figures out and just hella spoiler alert, if not already, that, when she figures out that her brother is still out there, first thinking that he died, but, you know, he knew that she was smarter than that and left behind a trail for her to find him. And their reunion was the best thing and the that I've seen in the show, period. Because look, I've seen sibling relationships being portrayed as, sometimes siblings being at odds with each other, but this is like straight up supportive older brother being proud of his little sister being the Green Paladin, being as smart as she is, and he's like, "Oh my god, my baby sister did this. This is amazing. I'm so proud of her." I'm just like, "This is so nice." So, and then you push that into season 5 when they're trying to find their dad. And it gets to the point where I know it's, I think, a little bit later in, like, maybe episode 4 or 5, I think, when um when they had to when Zarkon approaches them to make a deal because he knows that Lothar is with them, to trade off, give him back his kid, and he'll give them Pidge's father,
Okay.
Sam. And Pidge was like, "No, let's go, let's do this. I don't care what I don't care what the repercussions are. I don't care what happens to Lotor. He could betray us at any moment for all we know. I want my dad back." And I'm like, "Dang, she's out for blood." And that's the thing. That's the thing that really captures my attention about this show. Not just, I don't know. I just love it.
Okay. Since we're doing a podcast, we're trying to inform people about the show. Let's maybe not do that again. Like this is, I don't know. Let's cut it back on a little bit of that. You had a great
I did
thought going and you just stopped.
because I'm overwhelmed now.
Oh man. Which is something they do portray very well in the show. They do show there are overwhelming odds. Like I said, they're fighting an empire 10,000 years old, and they're just a bunch of kids. Yeah, Shiro's an adult. The backstory of Aurora, one of the alien princess in the show, she's been asleep for 10,000 years, but she was
You're right.
frozen as a
Yep.
teenager. She's still a kid. Um, there are just things that they can't emotionally handle, and this show has done so well portraying the emotional complexities of these characters. Like Pidge, again, spoilers. Sorry if you guys haven't completely caught up. But, we're talking about season 5. Pidge is, first there she's
Mhm.
assumed to be a boy, but she turns out to be a girl, and that has ramifications for the team. Some of them like really weirded out with it. How Pidge reacts to things is shown. Like she has it from a feminine perspective. They just assume she's a dude. You have Lance, the blue paladin, who he just grows from what you have that in most shows, that obnoxious, jokey character, and he grows into like a confidant for like the whole team. Like you go to Lance, you want to talk about stuff, and they display his skills. At first, he's just there, but as the years and seasons progress, he gets he learns his own potential. He becomes a sharpshooter. We see in season 5 how there's even more to him that we just don't know yet.
Mhm.
They show growth. Keith, the original Red Lion. Keith is the hothead. Like I said, you always have these categories for people in animation or just children's shows, so it's easier to relate and to let people know where things stand. But even though Keith as a hothead, we get a whole background story of why he acts this way over the season. We get information like he's not a hothead because he's a hothead. Like no, there's trauma in his life, and he has to deal with this trauma. And dealing with trauma in war
And the thing
don't
that
mix
I also
well.
appreciate is that they have each of these characters very introspective about who they are. Like with Keith, he's aware that he's a hothead because of the trauma in his life, because, he was orphaned, presu- presumably, at a young age, lashing out and being kicked out of the garrison after hearing news of the quote unquote pilot error of the Karabos mission. And we have these characters who realize who they are and what their place is, not just Voltron, but with other characters. Like, for instance, in I think the fourth season, Lance, before they got Shiro back, Lance approaches Keith about his place in Voltron, like, if he still fits, because he says that Allura, as the Blue Paladin, is growing very quickly. Like, she's learning so much in under a very short amount of time, and she's doing great. And he's worried that he won't have a place anymore. He's aware of that. He's aware of where he fits in. And that's what makes it really, really interesting when you see the character growth of some of these characters and how different they are compared to the first season and now. Um, I'd love to say that, like, some of the like more lighter moments from the first episode. Like, I remember when they were when they found the Blue Lion and Lance was the first to pilot it. For me, it really caught me and like drew me in when just Lance farted randomly in the cockpit and everybody wasn't even aware of it until it happened, and his expression, like little things like that, is what I really appreciate about the development of these characters and just the distinction between the paladins, Kuran, Allura, the Galras, everyone. You have Lotor and his generals. Oh, what are you gonna say?
Just for a little, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was thinking just to give the people a little bit more background. Like I said, this show, when
Mm-hmm.
things happen, there are consequences. They lose paladins, or people get captured, or become prisoners of war. So they have to change their positions. Like people aren't staying as just their one paladin with one lion. There have been multiple switches and multiple um what's the word I'm looking for when you elevate
Mm-hmm.
somebody militarily? Promotions, multiple promotions, and some people have just left the team. Like that for a kid show, things like that don't happen, and they definitely aren't shown organically. It's just like, oh well, we need this new toy, we're gonna switch it out. But for Voltron, no, there's a story element to every last one of these changes, and every last one of these changes have both have consequences, but they also have a purpose. And I think that's one of the things that makes Voltron so well because as we find out in this fifth season, a lot of the changes and things that have been happening, they reflect the growth of the team, but they also show the toll that things are taking on
That's
them as
true.
well.
The trauma.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because you mentioned about Shiro. There's a season where Shiro gets kidnapped or he becomes a prisoner of war. And there's a whole thing again. Spoilers, sorry if you guys haven't catch up. It's all there on Netflix to binge. We don't know which Shiro came back. Is it of the real Shiro, a clone? All we know is Shiro was gone for a while. There's an entire episode where we see Shiro escape, but we don't see this Shiro return to the team.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone else with the team already that says that they're Shiro. And in this season, we start to see a lot of cracks in that
Yeah, we do.
persona of this person being Shiro. Not only do we see cracks, we start to see proof that maybe this isn't our Shiro, which again, over 5 seasons, has been built up, layered, and has been
Mm-hmm.
developing and with purpose and not just something that's
And
just
it's done
thrown
very
away.
cleverly.
So we know, I'm sorry, yes, very cleverly. So we know that there's something's gonna happen with this. This is not just gonna be something thrown away and it won't affect the team. They just move on to the next adventure. This is going to affect them, and they're gonna have to figure out how to deal with this revelation that
Exactly.
this may not
And
be
I
their
love
Shiro.
how we have one of the paladins start to realize, Lance, start to realize that something is very off with Shiro, just with his behavior. Again, it could be one of two things that we know that there's something off with Shiro. We could say that, okay, this is probably not our Shiro. This is not the one we started off with. On the other hand, though, we could say that it could be him, but he could just be brainwashed or a sleeper agent. We don't know exactly. But I know that the fandom is just sticking to the whole clone theory, which makes sense, going off of how druid magic is used since season one. So it could definitely be
Hmm.
that number one thing, and everybody just pretty much predicted it. Because again, it's a kids show.
I just like the clone. Yeah, I just like the clone theory because we're gonna get a Shiro on
Oh,
Shiro
that'd
fight.
be
That's
so
all I
good.
want.
Honestly, and oh, there's some dark theories I've heard from other fans, but I'm not gonna say here because I don't know who else is listening. I don't know if it'd be appropriate. But it's it just goes into what is it? What's going on? Because originally, I remember learning about this about that Shiro wasn't actually supposed to come back so soon. But because DreamWorks was like, no, 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 we need to make merchandise. He's a very popular character. They were like, well, okay then. If you still want Shiro in, let's do the whole clone thing. And it was very well done, very clever, and I appreciated that because honestly, I didn't want Shiro to come back until like maybe season 7, because I wanted to see the paladins interact with each other without him and try to get on, or at least, try to form Voltron without him. But this way is actually pretty clever way to have him in the show, but still have a lot of conflict. So,
Hmm. And I said that's again that's a testament to that writers room. Shout out to that writers room. Like that's
hands
good
down.
writing.
And going into Lotor's storyline, Darren can probably testify that I've been screaming about Lotor since season 1, since before he even appeared, because I knew just how just mean Lotor was in the original series. And so it grabbed me. I suspected that they were definitely going to have a different take on Lotor in Legendary Defender, but I was really happy with how they fleshed him out as a character. Like, he just wasn't a throwaway, bratty prince. He was like a legit character who was outcasted by his own family, his own people. And he surrounds himself with other outcasts, with other half Galra people, generals, all women, by the way, which is yes, thank you. And how he's more of a, do what he can to get what he wants and what he needs kind of person, compared to just being mean for no reason, being evil for no reason, and conquest and power. And no, he just wants he just wants things to be better for the Galra Empire. And that what?
Yeah, they subvert that whole big bad villain thing, and they've done that since the beginning of the series. Where we just, like I said, it's not a clear black and white thing. Yeah, you have sides, clear sides, but you just don't have people being villains for villain's sake. You might think that at first, but as you get deeper into the series, you realize everybody's layered. Everybody has a backstory. They end up in these places for a reason.
There's always a reason behind their motives, which is why it's understandable why the paladins were, when they when he turned himself in, actually, there's a valid reason as to why the paladins and everybody on the castle ship were very apprehensive about working with Lotor. Luckily though, I just thought about this too. Luckily Keith wasn't there. He was with the Blades, and we will explain. Yeah, we will.
The Blades of Balmora.
Yes,
The Blades of Balmora
yes, and
are a
we'll
rebel force.
get into that like really fast, because I just thought about it. Because in season 3, was it season 3, and both season 3 and 4, when Keith took over? Because I think it was at the end of season 2, Shiro disappeared.
End of
Yep, it was the end
season.
of season 2, Shiro disappeared.
Yeah.
And season 3 and halfway into season 4, Keith took over as the Black Paladin for a while. And he was just
Hmm.
obsessed with getting Lotor.
Hmm.
He just, every opportunity,
Hmm.
every place that he showed up, he just went in head first without even, with barely consulting the team about it. Yep.
He puts the team in danger several times
And
because of his
so
deception.
it would be interesting that if Keith was there when Lotor turned himself in, I would just be wondering like what his reaction would be, even though I'm pretty sure that he did see him because he was there at the end of season 4. When he was about to stop
Mm.
Hagar's ship from destroying that planet with Voltron on it. But
Hmm.
I just found it really, really interesting how everybody was just apprehensive, even though, like we said earlier, Lotar was the one providing them with all the correct coordinates. Everything went as planned, exactly as he said, and they're like, it's got to be some sort of trick. And he's like, no, it's not. I really do want to work with you guys. And
And again, in that scene, Lothar does a lot of throwbacks to the rest of the series, where he mentions how him and Aurora's
yep,
father worked together before the split and how they brought peace.
hmm
So why can't their children work together and help bring peace to the galaxy? Like those little things, right? Those sentences, those one lines that can encapsulate the entire series. Those are the things that make this such a compelling show. Because just remembering, like, oh, that's right. If you go back and remember that episode where they showed the history of Voltron, it's like, yeah, they were friends, and it just all
hmm
it takes is that one line, and you're right into it. You have to, and you just
exactly.
and you go forward
It's a
from
great
there.
thing too. So again, the viewers, like you as a viewer, if you watch the show and you see the series and watch this particular season, on the one hand, he's absolutely right. You could see the intention that he wants really this alliance to work, but on the other hand, you can't help but wonder what is he actually willing to do if he does not get what he wants? What else is he going to do? Is there going to be a betrayal? Is there going to be something that he does that ultimately hurts the team? We don't know. And that's what I really like about their approach with this Lotor because it's a, at this point one big gray area. We already know the history of Zarkon and Hagar, why they are the way they are, and why they wound up where they are now. And you have Lotor, a result of what their actions before having a rough upbringing, and it's honestly my heart goes out to him. He's a fictional character, but it's like I feel bad for him. Um, but the effort that he makes to convince Alora to work with him really drew me in. I would he okay. Listen, they made him such a gentleman though. How? Like how are they, how are they able to make Lotor one of the most spoiled, meanest characters in the original series into the complete opposite in this series. And it works. It still works. As drawing in suspicion from the other paladins, while simultaneously drawing in the trust from Alora, from Princess Alora. Because he appealed to her, um, to their shared heritage, being Altean. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
And it's just the villain with good points. I always
hmm
That's the most compelling villain you can always have when the villain makes good. When the even though you know he might be the bad, might be bad things, but what he's telling you
Nope.
is correct. He's not lying. He's just like, yeah, I'm just doing stuff, but I'm doing it and reasons. So he appeals to that sense of honor. It's like, yo, the only reason I'm doing this is for this. All these events that have happened, which we've watched as the viewer, and we're on Voltron's side. Oh my! And he's like, wait, but if you look at it from his point of view, yeah, he didn't. Wait, yeah, he wasn't after y'all, was he? Y'all did that, and you open up your eyes to the villain that makes good points. That's what makes him so compelling, without and complex, without it was still drawing. I mean, from the original series, which does brings us to episode 2, where
hmm
we do discover that Paige's father is alive. That Lothor, like, oh yeah, I know where he is. You better hurry up because my information is running out. They know you have me. Battle. They know somebody's lying. Somebody's telling them everything. And they go to try to find Paige's father, and Paige's father's not there. So Lothor's former generals, they're like, hey, we need to figure out a way to get back in the good graces of we know information that maybe the Empire doesn't, and they have Pidge's father. And that's the moment when you realize that it's that bargaining chip, that intelligence, like with one line where they say, "Hey, if you don't do this, this will happen." And when they do this and something doesn't turn out that way, the consequence is there. It's the next episode, and it makes you want to again. It's that binge watching formula. You want to keep watching. You want to go, okay, what's going to happen next? And what happens next is Zarkon wants to make a deal. Give me my son,
And the
I'll
thing
give
with
you the
that is,
Earthling. I'll give you your
everybody's like,
father.
absolute. Well, at first, everybody's like, kind of split with it. A majority of the paladins were like, yeah, we have to be very careful with this. Pidge is like, no, turn in Lothar and get my dad. What? How? How is that complicated? And it was argued that, well, Zarkon is Zarkon. He's not going to hold up his end of the bargain. He will not. He did not.
But the best argument is, but it's the war. Lothar is helping us win. And yes, your dad, but that's one person compared to the universe. And when you have in that conversation, when you have the varying degrees of who's on whose side and friendships and loyalty, and then you again you have Shiro experience showing off a little anger, something we haven't really seen a lot from him. Again, we don't know which him this is, and that's what you start to see cracks in the persona and some of the talents. And I'm like, yo, what was that
Never,
about? You ain't never talked to us
never,
like that before. Like,
never.
but it's not. But again,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like Shiro's making a bad point. He's still correct about, hey guys, I understand what you want to do, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win a war here.
Exactly.
The
It's not about
universe
one
is at
person.
stake,
It's it, it's not.
right?
Mm-mm, they
And
don't.
they don't shy away from that conflict. Most kids shows don't, no, we do this. It's the right thing. Not Voltron, like, nah, you gotta think about it. What are you doing?
That's true. And yet, compared to other shows, some other shows would always, for somehow, some way, would figure out a way to save that person and the day. And it's like, nah, fam. On Voltron, it's like it's either one or the other, and we gotta consider these factors that if we go and actually do the exchange, there's a possibility that this will happen, this, that, and the other. You gotta plan this shit out. You know, you gotta be sure that, if we were to do this, if we were to go and do the
Mm-hmm.
exchange, then we have to be prepared for whatever it is that they may throw at us anyway. So, and they did it very well too.
Indeed.
When the exchange, when it came time for the exchange, they did it very well because you have like little moments to, if you pay very close attention as they're doing the exchange. Lotor, I think Lotor is the one to notice immediately what was wrong.
Well, okay. Well, first we have the prisoner exchange where they actually finally do agree that they're gonna give Pidge's father. And as they fly to the planet, we have, basically a stalemate. The Emperor Zarkon, Lothor's former generals are there with Pidge's father. Shiro, Pidge, and Lothor are on the Paladin side, and that's them. As they're going through the prisoner exchange, you it's like in any old school movie, you have everybody paces. As the prisoners are walking across from each other, Lothor, there's a slight animation, or two animations actually, where they see Lothor giving the side eye to Pidge's dad, like,
Exactly.
something's wrong here. This isn't right. So, again, showing the character development and sometimes how logic is thrown out the window, because Pidge is written as one of the most smartest characters on the show.
Most
But when it
emotional.
comes to family and emotions,
Hmm.
she she's the most emotional and she kind of gets dumbed down. Even though the exchange is not completely finished, she runs to her father. When she runs to her father, she
Exactly.
goes to hug her father. It's a hologram. Zarkon has Lothar in his grasp, and he brings out Pidge's dad. Like, well, I still have the Earthling. Guess what you guys are gonna do if you really want to get again a portrayal with Shiro warning about like, yo, we can't trust this
Exactly.
dude.
That was the whole thing. That was like this is exactly I bet you what was going on in Shiro's head. It's like, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. He was gonna pull some crap like this. So,
Mhm.
but I think right at that point, it goes into one of the most compelling battle scenes I have ever seen on that entire show.
Shiro, being the general that he is, of course, has a plan B. This plan, some things about this plan is going to come back later on, and we'll discuss that in a moment. But he has given
Yes.
Lothar his paladin weapon,
The Beyblade. No,
the
bear.
blades, the
Bear.
Beyblades. Yes, yeah, I always forget what they're called. The ba- the bears. Yeah, I always forget. I always call them Beyblades for some reason. I don't know why, but the bears. And Lothar, who was never handcuffed, he had the Blair. So he escapes and goes on a one-on-one battle with Zarkon, while his former friends, Lothor's former friends, try to escape with Pidge's dad. Pidge and Shiro go after Pidge's father. Lothar and Zarkon have one of the most beautifully animated battles
Yeah,
I've seen in
one
the
of the most
longest
compelling voice
time.
acting I've ever heard too. Lotor's voice actor,
Yes.
um, what's his name? AJ Locasillo, if I'm saying it correctly, has it
Okay.
hands down spot on emotional. It was very emotional because it was father and son. It was a father and son battle, and again, hands down, one of the best voice acting I've heard in a long time, and it made it work. Everything was put together very well. Um, the differences between, I think at some point Lotor tried to not say talk his father down, but be like, dude, you don't want to do this. And Zark, yeah, but
He's throwing him off his
the
game.
dude's pumped.
Remember,
Dude's
Zarkon is pumped up with
yes,
this thing called
yeah, oh yeah.
quintessence. So he's
Didn't hear a
basically
single
drugged
word.
out of his mind. He's fucked up. So Lothar is trying to, yeah. So Lothar is just trying to talk to him, get him off his game, get some type of opening, and be like, "Yo, dude, what are you doing? You're drugged up. You're not you right now. What is happening?" And all that comes across in the fight. We see Zarkon, ebb and flow going back between a doped up man and just a guy fighting his own kid. We see Lothar trying to decide, what am I doing here? Am I really going to do this to my dad because he's trying to kill me? But I know it might be the drugs. And they intercut that play between father and son fighting with
Yeah,
going to Pidge and a daughter trying to rescue her father, and the fight with her and
and
Shiro
it's
trying to save
very
her
clever.
dad. And they
Matt,
and oh, her brother's there too. I don't know why I was
yes,
forgetting. Her
yes, yes,
brother's
yes.
in that scene too. Matt is there. They and it's that parallel struggle. Like, I'm trying to rescue my dad. Is Lothar trying to rescue his too, or is he just out? But you don't know. But it's conveyed beautifully in the animation and in the
Oh, it
dialogue
was
of this
it was
episode.
it was done very well, and I really appreciated like the differences between Pidge's
Yes.
family dynamics and Lotor's family dynamics.
Because also in that family dynamic, we have Hagar, the the witch of the empire, but we also find out is the
Mother, yes.
wife of the emperor and Lothar's mother. She discovers herself, even though as viewers we know this, but she discovers, regains her memory
Yes.
of Lothar in this episode as well. And she's like, oh my God, that's my son. This has to stop. But of course, she's too late. They're in the heat of battle, and as they are Gara,
Yeah.
once you're in the heat
Yep.
of battle, you go to the end. And there's a beautiful twist with this. Again, guys, spoilers. Go watch the show. It's all on Netflix. Zarkon is beating Lothar. It's over. But Lothar sees the Paladins about to get away. It looks like they're about to win. He powers up. He's aiming his weapon at the Paladins and Pidge's father and ready to kill him right then and there. Lothar makes his decision in that second.
Mhm.
My father has to go. And something that you don't see coming, hey, I don't care how good you think you are. You don't see this coming in the second episode of just the
Nope.
fifth season of this show.
Oh yeah.
Lothar kills his father
Yep.
to save the
And
paladin.
you kind of see it from a mile away because you already can tell from season 4 their family dynamics is just crap. So it seems to me that, well, it seemed to me from, kind of predicted this anyways, that from the get-go, the way Zarkon treated Lotor, it it was kind of an inevitable thing that either Zarkon was going to go out in like blaze of glory in battle trying to retrieve the black lion, or he was going to fall at the hands of his own kid. And that was the case. It happened, and it was fitting.
I'm going to put this out there to our listeners. I want you to write down in the comments, do you believe she predicted it? Because I don't. Because you don't see the big villain get murdered off like this in the second episode. Like, this is a season finale type of thing. Now they're like, nah, we're gonna do this right now. You like, you know what? We're just gonna change
No,
the entire
actually,
game of this whole
I didn't
show
even no. Here's
right
the thing: I
now.
didn't predict when
And it
it was gonna
wasn't.
happen. I
Go
just
ahead.
predicted how he was gonna go down. I like you're right. This is some season finale
Mm.
type stuff, but they were like, nope, let's take care of this right now because we got some bigger fish to fry. And I'm like, what's bigger than this? Apparently, what we're gonna get into later. It's just
Yeah, I believe I'm gonna still leave that to listeners. You write down the.
okay.
We're gonna go on. We're gonna
All
go
right.
past it.
Clearly, you know how I function when I watch these shows. Okay. Oh my goodness. But yeah, it's again compelling story writing. It's fitting. It was fitting. It was very fitting. Very tragic because it continues off of that wave. Because later, almost immediately, actually, you see a hole. Zarkon is gone. Who's gonna fill that void? Who's gonna be the next? Yeah, who's gonna be the next ruler?
Oh, the
Oh yeah.
the empire's in disarray. We got new generals popping up. Great, quick, like two two sentences or a couple of dialogues of people being introduced. And you know exactly what they all about. Or you'll have somebody on the Voltron team. Hey, this person does this. You'll have somebody in the Blade about more. Well, this general is doing this, and real quick you
Yup.
realize, oh, this is not good. Like this is, and it's not something long drawn out. You don't have a giant episode dedicated like one person. Like no, 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 no. This is messed up. The empire's in disarray. We literally kick off with one rogue
Mhm.
um, Gora general
Yep.
trying to retrieve a doomsday weapon, and the Voltron force having to scramble to stop them, while the rest
Mhm.
of the Gora Empire is in the middle of a small civil war. And they don't have time. They have to hurry up because if they get this weapon, this power. I'm sorry, it wasn't Voltron Force that was scrambling. The Blade of Balmor scrambled, and they couldn't get back up
Mhm.
from Voltron because
Way too
everything was
early.
moving so
Yeah, and
quickly.
it was literally like a amongst the generals within the
So
Gara Empire. It was literally a battle royale. It's an all out for that spot.
yes, so this is when we get what we call a Keith episode, and we find out what Keith has been up to, what he's been doing since he left the team, and he gets on this mission like, hey, your mission is to go down here, stop these guys from getting this, and you have to do it in the middle of a giant space battle between these two armies. And we do. And I
Mhm.
don't want to skip over a lot many other things here, but honestly, for me, there are only two important things that happen in this episode. One, we get again the dichotomy between Shiro and the team. They bring up some of Shiro's decisions, how they seem to be out of character. We get Shiro arguing with the team about the things that they need to do, and we also, and that's just the Voltron
Yep.
side, but for Keith, we get Keith's mother.
His mom. Mhm.
We finally
Yep.
meet Keith's mother,
We already.
who
I
is
mean,
a
we already knew
Gora,
that.
which they,
Mhm.
but again, they've just been hinting at it through the show. We don't know if she's ever been alive. We don't know what happened to her. We don't know how she met Keith's father. We don't know when this stuff happened. So for her to actually make a full appearance
Yep.
and to have a decent position in the Goa Empire, and to for Keith to save her
That's a very big
is a
deal.
I
You
think is
may
a
not
big
realize it
thing.
right now, or many may not realize it 100% because the way it was done, I don't want to say it was lacking because it wasn't. But it kind of was like, it wasn't like this big dramatic reveal, but you have, number one, just the resemblance. Like the way she was drawn, you could tell off the bat, like those two are related somehow. One. Two, the things she said. Remember, like, when Keith first joined the Blade, he was constantly compromising missions because he let his emotions get in the way. Now, this last mission, when he met his mother, Colavan was like, "Listen, you're going in to do these things. Do not let your emotions get in the way." And Keith's like, "Yeah, yeah, I got it. Fine." And he,
No, Keith's like, when did that happen? Like, yo, you've done it before, bro. Don't play it.
he's right.
Right, and that, but that's something that we see throughout the. It's his emotions that put the team in
Exactly.
danger. It's his emotions that led him to quit the team. It's the
Right.
emotions that caused
It's
him to
true.
blow up at
It's
the
true.
team even after he
And
left.
so we see that he tries to get himself together for this specific mission, and he meets the other Galra, and she does the very thing he was told not to do. And that was a huge flag. That was like, whoa. And
Mm-hmm.
then she said something along the lines of, I left you before, but I'm not going to leave you now, not ever. Never again. And I was just like, ooh,
Yes.
that's his mom. And Keith was like, wait, confused. He was confused. He was like, what are you talking
Mm-hmm.
about?
Mm-hmm. Because again, like it's the beauty of the writing. They show like, yo, they're
Right.
in the middle of a battle. You're not really listening to what nobody's saying. You're trying like so he didn't. He you could tell with the way the animation, like beautifully drawn. His face was like, I think I
Right.
understand what she's
Exactly.
saying, but I'm more confused
And
because
on
I
top
might
of the
die
fact
right
that she
now.
was able to use his blade, then we quickly figure out it's hers.
Right, which is genetically right. These blades that the blade of Balmora use are genetically encoded.
Exactly.
Only
So when
the
she
people
used it,
with
Keith
certain genes
again
can
was
use
like,
them.
"Whoa, what's going on here? How are you able to use my blade?" I'm like, "Keith, if you don't figure out that's your mom, I'm
Mhm.
gonna smack the crap." No, no. Right.
But again, it's a cartoon, so they have to explain to the viewers. But they get it in the show. They do this so they have a reason to say it out
Right.
loud in the
Because again,
show,
the
so the
audience is
viewers
not
understand what's
right.
going
It's
on.
not only the adults. It's the kids. Kids, you gotta have that. And if they did that a lot of other animated
Exactly.
shows I remember growing up with too. So it makes a lot of sense. And it's just me sitting there as an adult going, kid, that's your mom. That's your mom.
Hmm.
Boy, that's your mom. It's your mom.
Mm. And again,
It
it was
wasn't.
still very well written, so it wasn't annoying. And they make you try to think you were stupid. They're like, no, we're doing this because
Hmm.
we got to spell it out after we give you
Yep.
the cool clues. Then
It
we'll spell it
does.
out so
There's so
everybody else
many
can
things
catch up.
that made
And it
you
worked very
understand,
well.
okay, that was his mom before he figured it out. Because another line, there was another line she said. She told him
Hmm.
like, "Shut up and trust me." And you remember way back in the first episode when he was leading the paladins away from the garrison teachers who were trying to after they got Shiro out of that lab, and he was on his hover bike, and like what was it? He said the exact same thing. Hmm.
Yeah, they were trying to
Yeah,
escape because the hoverbike, it was too weight. They had too much weight on it, but they were going
yeah.
to jump.
So that
He's like, no, shut up
again,
and trust me. And they went and did
another
it.
callback, in a very yeah, and another good way of just
Yeah, another
like
good callback.
mother like son.
So we got a lot of really good, like I said, cool, cool set pieces, but a lot of great small character moments that we hope the show will continue to build on. Um, we get more of the split of the Gold Empire. We get
Hmm.
to see more of the Gold Empire. Shira and the Paladins arguing about what to do, and Lothar is like, "Hey, you want to stop the universe from crumbling? You guys have to help me get on the throne." Half the Paladins like, "Are you out of your mind?" And the other half was like, "Wait, didn't he just help us beat the crap out of these people and
Right.
get your father back?
Why
Why
would
would
he
we
go do
not
that?
help him?" And you have that and again, you have that split where these characters are individuals. They have their own
Right.
reasons for things. And there's a good argument. They have to think about it. And again, we get a little bit more of, this Shiro's off because this Shiro takes the Black Lion and takes Lothor to help him be crowned an empire. And this is what I really enjoyed about this episode is the details of how
Right.
the
Just
Gora
again
Empire is
that
set
part
up.
where they were arguing whether or not to take Lotor there with the Black Lion. That moment though, what Shiro said after I think it was Allura who was like, "Dude, you can't do this. It's a huge risk." And Shiro literally
Mm-hmm.
pauses. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and goes, "I'm sorry you feel that way." And he does the thing anyways. And I'm like, that blew me. That blew me so far out of the water. I was
Mm-hmm.
so happy to see that because it's literally again, who is that our Shiro for real? But again, it showed us a side to Shiro that maybe if that really is him, he was probably.
He would have did the same thing. Because again, like these guys, Shiro is the oldest. Well, next
Like
to
amongst the humans,
Aurora's
he is considered the oldest. Yes.
Koran. Yeah, and he's also the most battle tested. He's been out there, and when he says the things like, "This is how you win wars." It's not going to be you have to win every skirmish. You make the big moves, which again they've taken back
Mhm.
something that they tried to show last season when they were forming the alliance and the things and the steps they had to do to be like, hey, we just can't keep going around liberating planet one at a time. We have to make moves. We can eliminate entire systems and help them get strong enough so they can help us fight.
Damn.
Voltron can't do it on its own. This is when they're forming the alliance, and it's that moment where you realize no matter which hero there is, there are tough decisions that have to be made, and maybe these kids aren't ready to make those decisions.
Right.
So we get so we get back also again, we get Keith again, and we have Keith out there with the blade. They're like, hey, this giant meeting is about to happen. Last of the Gora generals and Haggard. Like, we can take them all out. Let's blow it up. Let's blow it up. And we got Keith there, and he's getting ready to do his thing. We have the generals there. We see the generals fighting each other again. Great animation. The animation is so beautiful. The movement is fast. There are a lot of colors. They're just great effects, but you don't lose sight of anything. And as a person that's a little visually impaired, I was able to follow everything. That's just
Exactly.
a testament to how good this show is drawn, how much effort and
It's
money they really do
you
put into
just
it.
realize it's like a crazy cash cow.
And
Putting all the
mhm,
effort into, putting all the money and like make this magic happen.
yeah.
Do it. So they're smart to make that investment.
Mm. So right. So to close up on this episode really fast, Shiro with Lothor and the Black Lion do show up at the meeting of the generals to declare Lothor as the leader of the
Yep.
empire. And of course, a giant brawl breaks out. Keith goes back down to the planet because, like I said, Keith and his comrades have set up bombs to blow up everything. Keith is like, no, I can't let this happen. Shiro and Lothor are there,
Let's take over.
which again is Keith
Yeah.
letting his emotions overtake the mission. Because they could have ended the Gold Empire right then and there. Shiro, all you gotta do is send Shiro and Lothor a message, get back in the line and
What?
fly, and everything would have been fine.
I was gonna say, do you
And what
also
we
like
see,
Sindak
oh, go ahead, I'm
his
sorry.
return? Ooh.
Yes, the return of a character from
Season
season
one.
two
Season one.
was the
Yeah.
last time we saw Syndax.
Yeah.
One, so a character that was built up as one of the underlings or second in command, big bad, like a constant threat while the big bad was out there. They bring him back, a great throwback because you don't know who he is. They talk about we need a super strong person, this and this, and you don't know who it is. But if you've been watching the show since the
Mhm.
beginning, it's a
Yeah.
good payoff. It's like, oh shit, it's dude. So, so we get that, and Sindak is winning, kicking butt. Him and Lothar, right? Um, but again, because the Keith going back, he doesn't get all the explosives. He only gets like half. So the explosives go off, and it destroys the whole ceremony. The generals start fighting each other. They start betraying each other, killing each other. Sindak runs off and takes her little faction. They go away like this is screwed. Everything's messed up now. Lothar does ascend up to the pyre to light the fire, so it declares him emperor. But the thing is, he only has half the
And
empire.
it
The
was
rest of the empire is in chaos and fighting each other because what happened because the Keith setting off the
so to
bombs, they
everybody
don't
else who's
finish the
confused.
ceremony. So it leads to the very thing. So it leads to the very thing that Lothar said. I didn't want this to happen. Now they're gonna be fighting at each other's throat. Gora gonna start to kill Gora, and the Empire is crumbling,
Yeah.
which will lead to
And
even more chaos in the
also, I was
universe.
gonna say an interesting thing
Which you
about
go
that
ahead.
is Hagar appearing there, trying to tell Lothar, "No, you can't do this. You're not of full Galra blood." And he's like, "No, I'ma do this anyway." And it was a moment that almost revealed who, well, to him, who his mother was, and it was like a direct moment of like denial. Like Hagar's like, "Listen, you can't do this. You're half Altean. You're not allowed to do this. You won't be seen as a true leader of the Gara Empire." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna do this." And she's like, "No, what was it?" Like she almost revealed that she was his mom, but he was like, "No, don't bring on Nerva into this." And it's right at that moment you think, "Oh, he's gonna have a really bad awakening when he finds out who his mom is."
Mm. And the thing was, but it's not like it's so weird to have that one where but he's totally self-aware. He's like everybody knows still better than them, so I'm gonna become emperor. Like he's
Yeah.
aware of who he is. He's fully confident in his abilities because he makes that statement like, yeah, everybody knows I'm a half breed.
Right.
I'm
Like
still
I know what I'm capable of.
the
I
point.
know what to do for this empire. What are what do you mean? Like,
Mm.
okay, that's not gonna stop me. And he does it. He
Yeah, so it's a very well done one episode. Literally, just one episode show how an entire empire works, how it's fractioned, and what we're basically setting up for everything else. So Lothar is the emperor, but he only controls maybe a little bit more. The rest of the empire is in ruins, and you still got the Voltron alliance doing their stuff. But at least now they have an ally, and the ally for the Voltron force
yeah.
is the Gore
And
Empire.
going into now that that he's emperor, or at least considered emperor, he brings in the paladins and has, Allura work with him in finding a relic of Altean history, of Altean heritage and culture. And, he you could tell that from the beginning, though, the way he talks and carries himself, that he's an intellectual. He doesn't believe in, going headfirst into battle. He'll fight when he needs to, but he prefers to use his mind. He prefers to create, to go into alchemy. So the really cool thing about it is how they went into the mythos of Altean history, of Altean alchemy, talking about like Allura's father was an alchemist, Onerva, his mom, was a great alchemist, and so they talk about where they gained that knowledge. And Allura thought that it was just a place of make believe. Just like Voltron, you hear that stuff as a kid in stories, so you think it's just a fictional myth. It's a story. It's not real. But then you get older and you encounter this stuff, and it's like, whoa, it's actually real. And so the partnership between Lotor and Allura for me was the highlight of the entire season. Was one of the biggest highlights for the in the entire season, because originally you had Lotor obsess over Allura in the original series, just being gross about it. Just no way you would see those two ever being on the same floor, on facing each other intellectually and helping each other out, making the
Mm-hmm.
universe a better place. And now you have Legendary Defender, that Lotor from the beginning was an absolute gentleman, making sure that he was on Allura's good graces, connecting with her about their shared heritage as, Alteans, and working with her, bringing back the legacy that was their fathers, working together, being a part of Voltron, and connecting their worlds together. And for Allura, it was a good storyline for her too. It's for both of them, because she was asleep for 10,000 years. Her and Karan wake up to find out that their entire planet is gone with their families, that they don't have much left of their people. Well, yeah,
Not just
they're
their planet, their entire universe,
yeah,
their
the
entire
entire
empire is gone.
yes,
The Altair
and
empire is gone.
they don't have that. They didn't have that much left. As you think recall from season four, season three, when they went to the alternate reality about that comet. Um, they encounter a world where
Mm-hmm.
Princess Allura was an empress, and she's encountered other Alteans. She's like, "Oh my God, yes, let me
Mm-hmm.
stay here," and then realizes that I think she was told that there's something off about, but she comes to the conclusion that there's something weird and off and wrong about how they're controlling the universe. So, she had to leave that behind. However she wants to hold on to that, because that's, essentially her people. And so seeing her connect with Lotor on that and working with him, going to that white hole and encountering the what?
Well, skipping ahead a little bit. Also in this episode, we get a lot of character development with Pidge, Lance, and my favorite.
Hunk.
I always mess up his
Ha
name
ha
though.
ha ha.
Hunk.
Okay, no, okay, yeah.
I always call him the Hunk.
Yes.
And they're just running
Oh
around,
man, yes.
being
Yes, right
teenagers,
before we get into the
letting
White
off
Lion thing,
steam
yeah, they
in the middle of a
totally
war. They re-
uh,
Yeah, they reprogram of battle droids and
Yes.
turn them into
Oh
the
my
funniest
God,
character
yes.
this show has
Just
had in a long time.
okay, yeah, we have to pause and talk about this for a minute. It's just that like at every moment after Pidge and Hunk reprogram this droid, they just get into shenanigan after shenanigan. You have the two guards trying to watch over them. They're doing all this stuff and they're in the kitchens, they're in the hallways running amok. They're they're just destroying things, just being teenagers, having like jesting battles and ramming into each other because of course food fights, hurting.
Food fights, graffiti and stuff,
Yep.
taking selfies all
Yep. And
over
every time the guards catch it, they're
station.
like, "Break, run, run for it!" And the droid is like the first to leave. Right.
Leaves them
And it's
behind.
like,
The droid leaves the kids
oh
behind.
my god, yes.
The
And
paladins
it's
have
just
to
the
play catch up.
funniest and the best thing. And it's honestly it's refreshing because you go back and forth between that and Alora and Lotor learning trying to figure out more on their heritage and what to do with the Gara Empire. So it's a really interesting back and forth, very much like they did with the Space Mall episode, when you have the paladins trying to find the lenses for the teledove, and at the same time Shiro learning more
Hmm.
about the background of the Black Lion and what happened. So it's a
Yeah.
really cool parallel to what they did in season 2 and season 5 with that sort of thing. So, yeah, you have these kids just being kids. You're reminded that you know, they're really young and they do stupid stuff. And it's great. It's funny. Things they say, things they do. And the best part of that
Hmm.
episode when they tied up the droid to the ship and launched him into space.
Okay, this is the thing. I don't
Yeah.
remember why they did that. Did he want to see the stars?
that's
Okay,
That's it. That was literally it. That
the
was a
droid wanted to see
flimsy
the
enough excuse
stars.
for them to tie him to the ship like that, to literally the nose of the ship, not even inside of it. The stars.
Hmm. Yeah,
Literally
outside
the
because he
one.
wanted to see the stars. He wanted to be out there. And
Amazing Grace.
and what was the song again? It was Amazing Grace. It was a beautiful rendition of shoot the rocket
And
and
they
it
salute
blows
him.
up and they have to say goodbye to their android friend. And yet even the two guards that were chasing him this whole episode had to salute to. It's a little tear coming out of everybody's eye,
It was the most
and it was the
ridiculous
most
thing. Just
beautiful
they
scene.
appreciated it so much because it's like I too would like to do silly things when I am left on my own and I am bored out of my mind in a new place I've never been before. Don't let me get, like I
Yep.
tell people this, don't let me get bored. I will cause trouble. This is the example of like being bored by yourself. So it's great. It's perfect.
By yourself.
Yes.
And look,
That is
and
so
you have the
dangerous.
brains to
That's the
program an
funny, that's
android
the
to be
best
your
thing about it.
friend.
It's like you have these intelligent kids and they're bored. Of course you're going to get some chaos out of it. Some like pure chaos and it's beautiful.
Yep.
And from that, now I want to talk about the White Lion. Um like from that, they and I really appreciated them doing this too. When they were trying to figure out how to get into it, they were like, "Oh, well, because it's Voltron, an Altean invention, we can go through it just fine." Did not work. It didn't work. After
They discover what is called a white dwarf,
black hole,
the opposite of a
black
black
hole,
dwarf. A
actually.
black dwarf sucks in energy, and a white dwarf,
You
unless you,
said dwarf, yeah. Yeah.
what did I
The
say? Dwarf.
opposite.
I was talking about dwarf star, right? Black hole, white
Yes.
hole, and the white hole
Mhm.
lets out energy, massive amounts of
Yeah.
energy.
So they
And
thought that,
as
oh
you were
well,
saying, go
because
ahead.
this is of like Altean just stuff. I can't even find the word for it, but they thought that just to send Voltron into it, and they're like, and Lotor realizes a bit too late, like, oh no 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 no, that's actually not it. So yep, oh it got messed up bad. Like they
If
lost
Ultron get
power,
messed up,
the castle ship lost power too. And when they came back, Lotar's like, hey hey hey, we
hmm
can still go back, but me and Alora need to go. And they're like, wait, what? And he explains,
and again, they're already back to not trusting him
yep.
because he made one little mistake. 'Cause he thought Voltron could get it through, and you get the whole season of the back and forth of can
Yeah,
we trust
it
him?
does.
Should
You
we
can have
trust him?
nothing wrong.
It
And
all comes
well,
right back up.
almost they're still untrusting, especially Lance, to say that because there was a I think it was like a song or a poem,
Hmm.
and there was a specific line that he kept saying over and over again, and he realized that what they meant, it was like Song of the Chosen or something like that, or Marks of the Chosen, and he's like, look at Allura, look at her face, her Altean markings on her face was glowing, and so was his, but they're for
And so was
Koran.
his.
He explained that, well, some Alteans have that, some others may be seen a bit less. No offense. I'm glad he
Less.
did that too.
Yes.
And it was, again, it was like for him
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to go in and, claim his birthright. And of course, the team was apprehensive, but they had no other choice. Even Koran was like, I don't know about this. But Alora's like, look, this is an opportunity for us to reclaim our heritage, for us to bring forth Altean history, and this was considered a myth. It could be actually real, so they take the risk. Both Lotor and Allura take like these I don't even know what they were, but to kind of fly into the the white hole, and they encounter the white lion again because that was the first time that because the first time they encountered it, pretty much Voltron lost power. So they encountered the lion again, but this time they were allowed to go through. And when they do, it's of course this beautiful place. Like it's absolutely gorgeous, myth- mythical place that is only available to those who are chosen to see it. Only for the select few Alteans who um, have those markings or just are capable of going into these places others have not been able to. So they go, and it's basically like a huge, like hall of their, I guess, forefathers, if that makes sense. Um, they encounter the white lion over and over again, up until the point where they had to. They were each individually put to the test. Like Lotor was facing off against the white lion separately, and so was Alora. And the thing was, only one of them made it through to obtain the knowledge that they were looking for. And it was Alora because she applied what she learned as an Altean against the White Lion, and she surrendered herself to its will, and she was able to gain access. Whereas Lotor, he only had the Gulra upbringing, so it was he was fighting against the White Lion, and he failed because he fought back. He was violent against it, and he raised his sword towards it. And so, with the
Hmm.
final clash,
Right.
he opens his
Hmm.
eyes again, and he finds himself at the beginning, at the gates, and he was like angry about it, understandably
Hmm.
so. But so for me, at that moment when he was put back to the beginning, it made me think, okay, how is this going to come into play later on? Is he still going to feel resentful about this? Or is he going to shove it aside and let Allura do her thing and help him with the Empire?
And that's the question that we
Mm-hmm.
aren't going to find out because again, we have such great character development that the layers of this thing, like we don't know, or is this the thing that makes him a bad guy? Is this the thing that breaks him? Like I was doing this because I actually did want your guys' help, but I want to do this for me and my people. But if I can't do this for me and
Yep,
my people,
that could be
I'm
it.
gonna have to turn on y'all and take the power of Voltron away. Like those type of
Nope.
questions are left for you to figure
You
out
gotta
as the
let him
viewer.
marinate.
They don't tell you. They're like, nah, you think about it
Mm-hmm.
for a while.
Marinate.
I let him marinate. Think about this for a minute. And like I said, doing all this, we have character development with Shiro and Lance. And like you said, they're starting to figure some things out. I skipped over a part
Mm-hmm.
in Lance and
Yep.
Shiro's story arc because I wanted to talk about it later when it comes to Pidge's father, because it happens in an episode about Pidge's father. But we see more of them trying to figure out with Lance, like, this is off. Everything is off here. And you get that
Looking through
scene where
Shiro's
you
eyes.
see Hagar looking at looking through Shiro's eyes at Aurora and Lothar and what they've been
Mm-hmm.
doing, and
Yes.
she's like, "Oh, I know where I need to go now." Because again,
Yes.
Hagar is Altean. She has the marks.
Exactly.
she might be able to enter the White Lion realm. And if she gets access to that type of power,
Exactly.
game changer,
Exactly.
she might take over the
And
empire herself.
with the whole Lance noticing that there was something off about Shiro, this is what the thing that I really appreciate the most. Well, you see that through from season 1 through 4, you only see specific dynamics repeatedly over and over again, which is understandable. But in season 5, you get to see different dynamics now. You see Lance interact with Shiro a lot more, other than him being told to be quiet or calm down, or knock it off or stop being whatever. And it's this time that it's Lance that who notices from when the first time they all put their beards together in Voltron for something for they were fighting against that plant monster, I think, and on planet Okari and Okarion, yes. And
Yeah, the first Roby.
when they did that, they all wound up on the astral plane, like an astral plane. And everybody was calling out for Shiro because he was the last one to show up. And immediately it kind of clues you in as to there's something seriously wrong with Shiro. That may not be our Shiro. That may not be the leader they've known from the beginning. That could be the clone, because again, it took him so long to get there. One. Number two, when it was all said and done, everybody left individually. Lance was one of the last to leave. That Shiro, his face was obscured. Number one. Number two, he was trying to tell Lance something, like trying to send him a message. When he leaves, he approaches Shiro and asks him, what was that you were trying to tell me back there? And Shiro doesn't remember. And again, that's it.
And again, the reason I wanted to leave the episode to the great foreshadowing episode. Because in that episode, we also get a lot of stuff with Pidge, Matt, and their father. And we talk about how they want to go home. And the father's like, yeah, it's time to go home. Like, we together now. They're like, nah, we got to stay out here and fight. We got a universe to save. So they give their father the information and what's happening in the universe is going on and sends him back to Earth, which brings us to what Voltron becomes back in the early 90s, late 80s, when Voltron moves away from the Lions and becomes, more Transformers.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about that. But it's the second phase of Voltron. Like this episode, not only do we get a
Mhm.
precursor to that something's going on with Shiro, Lance is figuring stuff out. Not only do we get a precursor into how the Alliance is able to do things outside of Voltron, we get more background of that. Not only do we get a bigger precursor of the future of this show, they even throw a little bit like, hey, if this keeps going, guess what we're gonna do next? We're going to go into the next part because they send their father back with the information what's going on with the universe so he can prepare Earth, which means Earth
Yes.
will most likely start building their own Voltron-like robot. And they also in this episode we get little hints of a relationship between Pidge and Hunk
Yes.
because Pidge's
Yeah,
father talks
Hunk and
about this
Pidge
is
were
how him and his
arguing
mother,
about like
Pidge's
getting
mother,
their
like it's these little.
they were arguing about something and how to go about a process. Pidge asks her dad, "Hey, how do you do the thing?" Oh, so he's like, "Oh, so first you do this." She's like, "Ha,
Mm,
ha, I was right." And he's like, "Oh, this argument, that's how you and your mother and I met." And and it was like, "Oh, immediate foreshadowing." Yup.
immediate foreshadowing. This is one of the things. Like I said, this show has been so good with giving us throwbacks and hints and reminding us about the things that they built up.
Yep.
Like this entire episode, they're like, "Hey, but guess what we're about to do?" And I love how they set that up. We might have the future Earth Defense Force stuff.
Mhm.
We might have the final reveal of who's the real Shiro. We might have Pidge and Hunk getting together. We might have how the Alliance will
Mhm.
stand on its own away from Voltron, and Voltron
Yep.
has to go
A
away.
lot of
Like it's just
foreshadowing.
so much
But again,
foreshadowing.
we have the foreshadowing, and the thing, that are foreshadowed may happen, but they may happen in the way we do not expect. That's what I like the best about this show. Like, it's gonna happen, or it may
Yes,
happen, but here's how we're gonna do it. Like, not in the way you think.
yes, and yeah, that's why I left this part episode because I think this is episode 4. So that's why I skipped over the episode. There's just so many things like when
Mhm.
you get into the show and you realize how well the writing is done and how far in advance they
It's
think,
per season.
especially since Netflix has
Yeah.
chopped it up to only like 6 episodes a season. Like it's like, yo, so we can build on things. We can show you things that we know is coming because we're working on it right now. As you're
Yes.
watching this, as it released on Netflix, we're working on the next season. And to have that almost entire episode of just pure
Mhm.
foreshadowing, like, yo, this is what we're
Yep.
going to do for
Season
you.
6 is
We just want to let you know
dropping
so you
in
can come back.
June 13th.
June, right after
13th,
Luke
I think.
Cage, I think. No, before Luke Cage. June 12th or 13th, something like that.
So much coming in the summer.
Yeah,
So
June
much.
13th.
Excited. I am excited.
Yeah. But it was,
Mhm.
so once again, like, this is a great, like, and this is a great season at the beginning, but this is probably the first season
I was
where
about
I
to
want to
say,
go back and rewatch the
you
whole
know what?
season straight
Yes,
through
because
again,
I'll be
not
honest,
just certain
I
episodes or
won't
certain
rewatch
parts.
something unless I really, really, really like it. And this is one of those seasons. Like, I attempted to rewatch the previous seasons, and as good as they were, it just didn't. I knew what happened. Okay, cool. Let's go on. Let's move on. But this season, man, the layers, the animation, the fight scenes have improved. It's like, to me, it's like each season, the fight
Mm,
scenes and the animation has improved greatly. So the growth is there all around,
yes,
and it shows so much in season 5. So I'm really excited for season 6. It should, and it should blow my mind and
it should
move my
be
scalp
incredible.
and just singe my eyebrows and just do everything I expect for it to do.
Indeed.
True.
I, on the other
That,
hand, will
yeah,
keep
no,
my
it's the best way to
expectations
approach
low so I
something.
can
It
enjoy
really
it
is. Keep
more.
your expectations
Um,
low. But I mean, if I'm disappointed, oh well. I'm not gonna feel hurt over it. It's a show. So it is what it is. But we're gonna have to cut it off here. We can talk for days about just this one season, but we have lives outside of this podcast. So we thank you for listening, our lovely viewers and listeners. I'm Paulina Guerriere. So be sure to follow us on our
and I'm
social
Darren
media,
Bradley.
Afro Anime Initiative on YouTube, that or Afro AI, Afro underscore AI. Either way, I think it's interchangeable. Same thing with Facebook, as well as Twitter, Afro underscore AI. And we hope to hear from you soon and make sure you just join the initiative. Bye.
You heard it. Joining next